Let me tell you a story. A story of bravery, commitment, madness, and above all else, victory. A story of 10. 10 heroes of great renown who set out to conquer adversity. 10 heroes who fell, one by one, to hardships unimaginable. And of the ones who clambered out of the darkness and brought light back to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Backlogs. After over a year of editing, technical malfunctions, heartache, and a torrential stream of comments demanding the results be released, it is my pleasure to present to you the Dark Souls 1 One-Shot Challenge. If you'd like to jump ahead to the competition itself, timestamps have been provided for your watching pleasure. We'll see you on the other side. But with this monster of a project finally complete, I'd like to take a minute to bask in the effort it took to make it. It started innocently enough. Back when I started challenge running Dark Souls, long before I'd even imagined doing anything on YouTube, I became aware of something called the Vegeta 311 Low-Level One-Shot Challenge. Created in 2012, this unofficial challenge was offered to the Souls community at large by Vegeta 311, and consisted of a few simple rules, which you'll see here on screen. This challenge was considered a good time, with a general consensus being that it was hard but fair, mainly due to some of the rules on what constituted a one-shot being a bit lax, and the fact that points were generously given when a player successfully beat a boss. But 11 years later, I decided it was time to revisit the challenge, with a few key differences. My goal was to recapture the magic of the run, while making it hard enough to challenge modern players. Dark Souls 1, once considered the most difficult game of its time, is now one of the easiest games in the series. A series that has been beaten so many different ways that players have to go out of their way to squeeze the last bit of challenge they can from its dried husk. I created a challenge that would give even the most hardened veterans a run that they wouldn't soon forget. A run that was theoretically possible, but had never been accomplished. A true one-shot challenge run, where every boss, mini-boss, and NPC must be killed in a single button press. With Dream in hand, I reached out to multiple Souls challenge runners and asked if they were willing to take the plunge. To my surprise, while some of them read the rules and immediately rejected my offer, others greedily snatched them up, demanding to know when they could start. And when it was all said and done, I had 10. 10 sorry souls willing to put their sanity on the line. I created a Discord server aptly called the Bonfire, where I could easily reach all 10 of the runners for updates and rule clarifications, and then, in May of 2023, it began. And as the run went on, and the brick wall I had predicted began to rear its ugly head, something happened. What was once a competition suddenly transformed into a camaraderie. Undead heroes huddled around a bonfire, offering suggestions, assistance, and reassurance. The end was possible. Surely, it must be. All they needed was one person. Just one success and the entire house of cards would come tumbling down. And tumble it did. This is their story. This is their victory. Remember their names, for they have done the impossible. Now then, let's go over the rules. 1. Your starting character may be of any class type. 2. The run officially begins after you leave the asylum. 3. When fighting against a boss, mini-boss, or NPC, you must defeat them in a single button press. If you kill the target, you gain 1 point. There are a grand total of 130 points available in the run, and I'll provide a link to the document that lists all the targets in the description for anyone who's curious. 4. You may only level up as many times as you have points. So for example, if I defeat the Taurus Demon and the Capra Demon, I can level up 2 times. This doesn't remove your points for the purposes of victory, but you must defeat more targets in order to level up again. Also worth noting, regular enemies are free game and can be killed with as many hits as necessary. 5. No glitches or exploits are allowed, since some glitches are console specific and not all challenge runners are using the same console. And 6. If you cannot kill a boss with one attack, you cannot kill it with multiple shots in order to continue. If you can't reach any more targets, your run is officially over. And that's it. Whomever has the most points by the end of the competition is the victor. May the best hollow win. Naturally, because my participants were challenge runners, they immediately started asking questions that poked holes in my rules, so extra clarifications were necessary. First off, summoning is not allowed, but convincing an enemy to kill your target is perfectly fine, as you have essentially killed your target in 0 hits. Kicking an enemy off a ledge is allowed, as a single button press has resulted in their health bar going from 100% to 0, aka 1 hit. Similarly, luring enemies off of ledges is also allowed, as this means you've killed an enemy in 0 hits. The same is also true of other environmental hazards, like traps and fire pits. If you attack an enemy and fail to kill them, you must reset the instance in some way so that the enemy returns to 100% health. You can die, homeward bone, etc. However, you may keep and use any rewards that occur because of that failure, like tail weapon drops. Similarly, NPCs that are now aggro are still 100% viable for points, so long as their health is back at 100%. And lastly, if you die in the process of getting a point, you still get the point. There. All good? Everyone on the same page? No? Fantastic. In that case, let's get this absolute behemoth of a competition started. Ladies and gentlemen, adult children of all ages, may I present to you tonight's entertainment. For your enjoyment, I give you 10 of the most hollow individuals you've ever seen. From all the way across the pond, where he's known for beating every game in the Soulsborne series as normally as possible, Baron's Castle.
Where am I? Who are you people? What year is this?
Dancing his way across every Souls title and destroying them each in turn without uttering a single sound, Beyond. Known for his Oops All Bosses runs and spending literal years beating Dark Souls 2 with only rings, the ranting madman, Challenger Andy.
What? You didn't know that Black Firebomb's skill is strength?
Barking his way to victory and proving that old dogs can learn new tricks, so long as treats are involved, the goodest boy, Doomwolf.
Well, at least it's not Dark Souls 2.
Giving greetings and salutations to everyone he meets every day of the week, you can always catch him on the flip side, GamersWeekend.
I didn't agree to this.
From London, England, he's the mad lad dad whose obsession with throwing knives has earned him the nickname of Knifeu. It's J.K. Leeds.
I really hope I don't get eliminated from this contest.
A variety challenge runner who is still in denial about the fact that he has to make Soulsborne and only Soulsborne content from now on, our protein savior, Meaty Jesus.
They don't call me the one-pump chump for nothing.
Asking all the questions we were afraid to ask about the Soulsborne series, while simultaneously completing challenges that make my brain hurt, Mr. Metagross.
Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Meta, and I put the meta in metaphysical pain. Seriously though, help me.
Dragged kicking and screaming from his comfort zone where he destroys Elden Ring one challenge run at a time, the Italian stallion, Plateau Peak.
Last time I was here, it only ran through games for Windows Live, and no challenge can be harder than that.
And last but certainly not least, the man who just wanted to make dad jokes for a living and somehow found himself making Soulsborne content, press continue.
Crapalicious, what a bunch of poopa.
In an effort to keep things clear for those of you watching from home, I've plastered each runner's logo on the top right of the screen whenever their footage is being shown. You're welcome. And you're also welcome for sifting through 5 fucking terabytes of footage. Yeah, you heard me. Terabytes. Do you have any idea how long editing this competition took? Look at this. What is this? Who does this? Right from the start, we've got everyone running in all different directions. Some players, like Doomwolf, have opted to grab the biggest weapons they can find. Grab the Grass Crest shield for extra stamina, then grab the Red Tearstone ring for that juicy extra damage. Because when you're participating in a one-shot competition, there's 2 things you can't afford to pass up. The Red Tearstone ring and the Master Key, which lets you sequence break the game for things like Power Within. But there's a catch. Currently, Wolf doesn't have the stats to wield his Vi, which means he needs to get creative for his first few points. And this, dear viewers, is why this challenge gets interesting fast. Instead of just farming mobs and leveling up like you would in a normal run, all the players need to earn their levels. And by luring Maneater Mildred onto the elevator and letting your AI and gravity do the rest of the work, Doomwolf does just that, starting off his run with a 0-hit kill. Baron's Castle has also opted to go for the Grass Crest shield, but has decided to clear the Black Knight while he's there. His normal damage isn't enough, but every Soulsborne player knows that the moss around the Darkroot Garden Cliffs is slippery at the best of times, and Gravity claims another victim, earning him his first point and a Black Knight halberd to boot. B-And has the same idea and follows suit, while GamersWeekend has decided to keep his route relatively normal, going for the Black Knight and Undead Burg. However, he's somehow found a way to kill it in a way I've never seen before, luring it off of a hidden ledge, while Mr. Metagross is literally forcing it back by inches with his parries. God, can you imagine? You're the biggest, baddest thing around, and this stick of a man just keeps swatting your attack away, slowly pushing you towards a cliff. I'm not allowed to give extra points for giving a target existential dread, but I would if I could. Meanwhile, J.K. Leeds is apparently pissed off the crestfallen warrior with his terrible puns so much that he's willing to follow him off a cliff if that's what it takes to make the pun stop. Meaty Jesus has also decided the crestfallen warrior needs to die first, though without the need to throw himself over the ledge, while Press Continue decided to just hire one of the locals to get the job done for him. Efficient. Off in the distance, Challenger Andy has opted to grind for a few hours with the Forest Covenant conga line, killing one of the knights in the process, and Plateau Peak is, killing drakes with an axe and 0 levels. I'm not quite sure what to make of that, to be honest. Alright, let's take a second to slow things down a bit. Jumping between every single challenge runner is almost dizzying, and considering we potentially need to cover approximately 1,290 more points in this contest, we should probably figure out a better way of doing things. So here's what we're going to do. As someone who has spent the last 12 months scrubbing through footage, I'm going to ask all of you in the audience to accept the following as fact. I have confirmed that everyone has leveled up legally throughout the run, and that the final totals are in fact accurate. I will not be showing every single point and every single level up of all 10 runners. We would be here for half a day, and while some of you may want that, my poor voice just can't take that level of stress. So instead of going blow by blow, I'm going to do my best to only show the most creative kills and the best moments of everyone's runs, in as close to a side-by-side chronological order as I can muster. I've also got a tally of the points they've earned by their names. That way you know how well they're doing at all times. It's not a perfect system, and I know some of you will be frustrated about missing out on a few kills, but as compensation, I'll make you a promise. At some point in this video, you'll see a way of killing a target that you've never seen before. And if I'm wrong, you can go ahead and dislike the video. Deal? Deal. With that said, let's start with Baron killing the entire Forest Covenant with the forest itself. Did you know that the evil shrubberies can kill the NPCs? How about the fact that they can actually grab them? This is made all the better by the fact that Baron joined the Covenant beforehand, which means that they all just stand there and take every single hit that demon shrubberies can dish out. I learned something new today. 4 points total for Baron. Doomwolf has decided that he no longer needs the male undead merchant, and has convinced a nearby local to help him keep his hands clean, and then continues to avoid bloodying his hands by politely escorting the Baronike Knight off a nearby cliff, and then breaking his ankles several times while Havel follows suit. It took several minutes, but a 0-hit kill is a 0-hit kill. Meanwhile, GamersWeekend has also opted for clean kills, but takes it a step further, going all the way back to the Asylum to lure Oscar into the Stray Demons arena. Oscar couldn't handle the Asylum Demon before he went hollow, so it's no surprise that he can't handle the Stray Demon either. Much more surprising is the fact that one of the Black Knights in the Asylum, whose literal job was to fight against the demons of Izalith, is also unable to handle it. Poor guy needs some backup. However, some of the participants prefer a much more direct approach. Press Continue has finished collecting the Red Tearstone Ring, Power Within, and the Hornet's Ring. A devastating combo that makes even a simple weapon like the Reinforced Club a menace that can rip through NPCs and melt down the health bars of a few of the mini-bosses in the start of the game as well. Now, at this point in the run, everyone is about an hour or so into their builds. And interestingly, the players have split into roughly 2 groups. Group 1 has decided to run around the map, grabbing the equipment and weapons they'll need and upgrading them to +5, while Group 2 has decided to get a few points under their belts first. That latter group tends to use gravity to their advantage, like JK Leeds, who has more or less pushed every target so far off of a ledge, up to and including the Taurus Demon. And while it's wildly impressive that so many points could be gotten simply by using gravity, equally as impressive is the power builds that some of the players like Meaty Jesus have gotten off the ground with minimal points. Seen here bullying the Black Knight in the Catacombs, MJ has a flame reinforced club that in combination with the Red Tearstone Ring and Hornet Ring is enough to melt any and all Black Knights he comes across already. Which means regular NPCs don't even stand a chance, and even some of the beefier targets in the game, like Havel, are just a single riposte away from death. That Hornet Ring really does carry your damage to a new level. And what makes it even more impressive is that Meaty's current build isn't even using Power Within yet. Elsewhere, Baron has decided to give Shiva and his bodyguards something to do while they're in Blighttown, using a Crag Spider to kill them passively. Or rather, it was passive until Shiva decided to aggro. Turns out, he isn't a fan of watching his bodyguard get killed, even if you technically had nothing to do with it. But unfortunately for Shiva, he forgot to bring any purple moss clumps, and after a few minutes of watching the poor man deteriorate, Baron nets himself another few points. Now, at this point in the run, the participants are starting to hit some soft brick walls. Those who have been pushing enemies off of cliffs are starting to run out of early game targets, and have started to use their points to upgrade their builds into weapons that can dish out some damage. It does seem like the Reinforced Club is a crowd favorite, as it does great damage, can be buffed, and has great scaling even later into the game. So much so that it can actually one-shot the Taurus Demon at +5, so long as Power Within and the Red Tearstone Ring are active. Actually, it looks like Meaty Jesus had the same idea, but didn't bother to use Power Within, and it was still enough to finish the job. The more you know. Oh look, the Demon's Great Axe. Other runners have started to depend on their big bonk weapons, like Doomwolf with his Zweihander, and GamersWeekend with his Fire-Infused Great Club. Go big or go home. These big bonk builds do have an advantage in one regard. If your weapon can one-shot a boss, it can probably one-shot a mini-boss, and, at least in the early game, most NPCs. And considering most of these big bonk weapons can be buffed as well, it's a pretty fair guess that most targets this early in the game don't stand a chance. Side note, you know how I said there were 2 camps of players? Well, I lied. There's actually 3. You have the big bonkers, the patience players, and then you've got Challenger Andy and Plateau Peak in camp number 3, which I like to call, the fuck are you doing over there? Challenger Andy, through hours upon hours of research and number crunching, has created a build that skips past the Taurus Demon and goes right for Capra, killing it with an enchanted reinforced club +4. For those of you wondering, yes, that means he upgraded his club to +5, then farmed green Titanite from the slugs in Blighttown to get it to magic +5 through Rickard the blacksmith, and then grabbed the enchanted Ember from Darkroot and farmed blue Titanite chunks until he could get it to +4. The man literally has what equates to a +14 weapon, and he hasn't even leveled up once yet. Honestly, it's almost unfair for the enemies at this point. They just crumple like paper, with Andy destroying them with a single jumping attack. He's not even bothering to use backstabs or riposts. Horrifying. Truly horrifying. And you know it's only going to get worse from here. As for Plateau, no seriously, what the fuck is he doing over there? And now for something completely different, a question of morals and ethics. With a community of players that agree that Solaire is in fact the best bro that one could ever ask for, how do you make your players kill him willingly? Well, it's simple really. You just make him worth points. But enough about philosophy, let's get back up to speed. Baron's Castle takes his bonking stick and shows Capra a good time with little issue, while B-And has to play catch up, running through the Undead Asylum, murdering everything he comes across with a reposted reinforced club. And despite mounting pressure to keep pace, B-And takes a moment to run down into Blighttown for Maneater Mildred, dancing on her grave for good measure, then arrives at Capra himself, pulling out his secret weapon, a Gravelord's sword. Not a weapon you see very often, but undeniably effective. Doomwolf remains loyal to his Zwei and deletes Capra with relative ease, with GamersWeekend close behind with his Firestick. Meanwhile, JK Leeds must have gotten tired of clubbing everything to death, as it appears he's taking the Black Knight on a merry chase across the Drake Bridge, giving that Black Knight a nice even char so that its insides match its outsides. He did get into a fight with Lautrec immediately afterward though, and while he does convince Lautrec to take the plunge, that's going to cost him later in the competition, as killing Lautrec this early makes it impossible to kill the Firelink Shrine Firekeeper. Accidents like these just prove how hard it is for these challengers to go against their muscle memory. And trust me, this won't be the last time it happens. Back in the Undead Parish, Meaty Jesus is cleaning up any points he missed, killing a Black Knight, the Armored Boar, the Baronike Knight, and the Channeler. Oh hey, Channeler's Trident. And with that done, he's finally caught up and going after Capra, once again proving the worth of the reinforced club. Okay, now hold on a minute.
Dude, I swear to you, I'm not cheating. I swear. Check the mods folder, I don't have any.
Mr. Metagross decides to ignore the fire pit that most of the other runners used, and kills the Armored Boar with the Portcullis, and after doing some cleanup in the Darkroot Garden, has decided to switch camps and is now big bonking his way to victory. Press Continue has no issue pushing past the Capra Demon as well, which brings us back to our oddballs. Andy, drunk with the power obtained with his magic club, runs throughout Lordran murdering targets left and right, seemingly with little effort. Even enemies that should be resistant to magic in theory fall like the autumn leaves, and even invaders like Kirk begin to quake in their thorned boots. At this point, Andy has actually farmed so much that he already has an Ascended Pyromancy Glove +5, and has bought all the spells from Griggs and Quelana, which means it's only a matter of time before... Oh, wait a minute. We seem to have lost Andy. How's Plateau doing over there? I mean, he's got the Grass Crest shield now, so that's, But with Capra defeated, it seemed like every runner had a different idea of where to go next. Baron went into the depths for a few extra points before stealing the Gaping Dragon's tail and using it to one-shot the gargoyles, with resounding success, though he did make the same mistake JK Leeds made and killed Lautrec out of habit. B-And continued to show why the Gravelord's sword is actually viable, slapping around all the mini-bosses hiding in the depths before eventually heading back to the surface, where he promptly decimated the Way of White faction, before finally making sure that there were no witnesses to the whole ordeal. Doomwolf also decided to clear out all the mini-bosses he missed, but made the unconventional choice of killing some of his victims with a rapier. To his credit, the rapier does have a critical bonus of 110 as opposed to 100, so it does make sense to use it when riposting enemies, but still. GamersWeekend decided to clear up the gargoyles with his great club, which proves to be easier done than said, then gave Oswald the justice he seeks in the form of a tree branch to the face. JK Leeds continues the trend of force-feeding the gargoyles their daily fiber value, but Meaty Jesus, seemingly determined to prove that size doesn't matter if you know how to use it, goes on an absolute rampage, killing almost every single target in Firelink, the Depths, and the Undead Asylum before returning to the gargoyles. You'd think this would be the point where the math stops working, But nope, another easy victory. You'll love to see it. Mr. Metagross appears to be having some performance issues, at least at first, but after equipping the red Tearstone ring, he's able to redeem himself with a mid-air kill of Gargoyle number 1 and a smooth finish of Gargoyle number 2. Press continue does a little clearing in Firelink Shrine as well, getting a little too excited at his success and failing to realize that Power Within is still actively killing him. That's foreshadowing, by the way. He then proceeds to show Havel that dragon teeth are nothing compared to a large log you can find on the side of the road, before killing an old man in cold blood for his keys, and easily smashing up the gargoyles with that same log, but now on fire. Andy, anything to say? No? What about you, Plateau? Okay, seriously, why are you still using the starting weapon? But now, the first brick wall of the run. With everyone slowly cleaning up the available points in the first half of the game, there's one boss that everyone was nervous about, Quelaag. Her health is a bit too high for most melee weapons, and she's immune to fire damage, so pyromancy is out of the question. But after a few days of everyone sharing strategies on Discord, it happened. At this point in the run, everyone was beginning to finalize their builds, getting their weapons to plus 15 for maximum damage. Combine this with the discovery that a high enough running jump could double hit Quelaag with a single attack, and what was once a brick wall became nothing more than a speed bump. Some players, concerned that their damage was too low, opted to farm for dragon scales to the point where they could use the dragon torso stone, giving them an additional 25% damage boost. But while some ground out scales, GamersWeekend decided to grind out levels and went after some of the easier bosses. Well, that's embarrassing. Hey, there you go, first try. To his credit, he was able to kill the Moonlight Butterfly early, a feat that no one else was willing to try at this point in the run. And with those extra levels, his victory over Quelaag was sound, catching him right back up to the group. My favorite part of watching this brick wall crumble was seeing all the different weapons used to kill Quelaag. While most players opted for the Great Club, due to the ease of access and overwhelming damage, there were several unique choices in there as well. Oh hey, Plateau Peak's turning in his dragon scales. Finally, we'll get to see what he's been up to this entire time. He appears to be searching for something. Oh no. Oh, he thought he only needed 10 scales to get the torso. We'll check back in again in a few days. Oh, hey, look, Andy's back. Ooh, sorry, Griggs. The murderous rampage continues, no longer just using the Magic Club of Doom, but also utilizing his fully upgraded Pyromancy Glove. And after swiftly dispatching Quelana, it's looking like it's time for, Andy? Oh, come on! Well, while we wait, it looks like everyone else is slowly funneling into Sen's Fortress. Baron's Great Axe is enough to take care of the Mimic and the Giants of the Fortress with a single hit. As for the Iron Golem guarding the path to Anor Londo, Baron decided to give Chaos Storm a try. And though the damage was lacking, the positioning was not, and Baron proceeds to the mid-game. GamersWeekend took the time to clear out some targets he missed, with some nail-biting near misses, but his build is certainly a force to be reckoned with, as he was even able to kill the Hydra and Darkroot before reaching Sen's Fortress, setting himself up for the DLC as soon as he has the pendant. Taking a similar approach to Baron, GamersWeekend has a bit more luck with his Chaos Storm, doing enough damage to one-shot the Golem without resorting to gravity. JK Leeds seemed to be trailing behind at this point in the run, but patience is key in a contest like this, and it's not about speed, but technique. The Moonlight Butterfly gets the stick, right before the Iron Golem gets a blast of Fire Tempest. Though technically less powerful than Chaos Storm, it's more than enough to finish the job. Mr. Metagross decided to take the scenic route to Sen's Fortress, heading through the catacombs to kill Patches, and succeeded in cutting down the scoundrel, despite Tony trying to get in between them. Another imaginary point to Mr. Meta for giving Tony what for. That sack of bones had it coming. Meta then went on to attempt Pinwheel. Surely a Great Club with gold pine resin and Power Within is more than enough to... Well, that was unexpected. But after a few points pumped into strength, Mr. Metagross tries again and is just able to cross the threshold. And with a few more targets removed from the picture, Mr. Metagross is the next to cross into the mid-game. Meanwhile, Press Continue decided that now was the perfect time to kill Andre. It's a bold strategy, Carl. Let's see if it pays off for him. A Chaos Storm is enough to melt the butterfly off its ledge, while a red Tearstone Ring, Power Within, Lightning Great Club does the job of putting down Pinwheel. But then, tragedy. It looks like Press was unable to get the Mimic headpiece he was gunning for, and without any more Lloyd's talismans to use, he killed the Mimic with 2 shots. Challenge Runner muscle memory. It'll get you every time. At least the Iron Golem kill was nice and clean. It's the little things, you know? As for B&, I'm not sure what got into him, but he decided that he needed to dance on the graves of almost every target in the early game. From the Hydra and Darkroot, which he killed with a jump attack from his lightning buff Great Club, to the Golden Golem and the Fair Maiden it captured, all the way to the Drake guarding the Undeadburg Bridge. Solaire gets old Yellard while staring at the sun, with gloriously incandescent dancing to follow, and a simple Power Within red Tearstone Ring rolling attack finished off both of the gargoyles with ease. The Moonlight Butterfly also gets slapped to death, and after a few more Great Club beatdowns, B-And finally makes his way to the Iron Golem, melting it to slag with a Fire Tempest. Doomwolf has also decided to clean his plate, smashing the gargoyles to bits with his Zwei, as well as every target hiding in the Forest Covenant area, and the Undead Dragon in the Valley of Drakes, which, though rotten, still cooked up real nice. He took care of the 2 soul masses in New Londo while grinding for Titanite chunks and slabs, then caught up to the front line with a Chaos Storm. Oh, what's this? Looks like Andy's back again. He stream snipes Maneater Mildred, proves that Sekiro's hitboxes are also present in Dark Souls 1, and after obliterating the Titanite demon near Andre, he's AFK again, isn't he? Well, while we wait on him again, it looks like Meaty Jesus is trying the impossible and going after the Gaping Dragon. He's using Chaos Storm, and it's not looking like he's got enough damage there. Or at least it didn't, until a random lava pool came in clutch and took the dragon down. Jesus is also spreading the good word to all of the Titanite demons in Sen's Fortress, up to and including the larger Titanite demons hiding in the back who have more health. Emboldened by his success, he goes after Sif as well, who does in fact go down with a single cast of Chaos Storm. And unfortunately for pet owners everywhere, even cats are not safe, as MJ uses his Black Knight Greatsword to finish all 3 of them off as well. One melted butterfly later, and Meaty has Golf Club Shiva and his bodyguard out of this plane of existence, proving that Chaos Storm is strong enough to just barely melt down the stray demon with a single cast, and followed suit with everyone else, clearing the Iron Golem and heading to Anor Londo. Now then, with nearly everyone pushed through to the mid-game, you'd think that things would start to slow down. After all, boss health pools are expanding, and things are only going to get harder from here. Well, actually, that's the exact opposite of what happened. With every single player having an upgraded Pyromancy Flame at this point, and having access to either Chaos Storm, Flame Tempest, or both, the bosses are all a single button press away from being deleted. You wouldn't think that a single button press could do just shy of 6,000 damage, but in the right circumstances, it absolutely can. Combine this with the overpowered weapons that everyone has been slowly collecting and upgrading, and there's really nothing more to say about most of the early targets. Truly, the runners have become what the gods of Lordran were afraid of. Well, most of them anyway. Okay, well, maybe not most of them. Actually, now that I think about it, 4.8 terabytes of footage was just them dying over and over again. So with the early game essentially demolished, it's time to see if the mid-game has any challenge to offer. The mid-game NPCs don't seem to be that much stronger, so I don't think we're going to find the challenge we seek there. But don't worry, Dark Souls has a natural choke point: Ornstein and Smo. The players may have access to some of the strongest pyromancy in the game, but what do you do when you've got 2 targets instead of 1? Well, that depends. It took hours of trial and error, but eventually the runners did enough math to figure out the most efficient ways to tackle the duo. Some players, like Press Continue and Mr. Metagross, opted to use both of their Flame Pillar spells, saving power within to deal with the supercharged version of their second phase to great success, while others, like Meaty Jesus and GamersWeekend, relied on their physical strength to push through the first phase, before queuing up a Chaos Storm to finish off the second. Interestingly, every single runner came to the same conclusion that Super Smo was the correct choice for a second phase, as well as the fact that a Chaos Storm was the best bet for removing him from the board. That said, Doomwolf and B-And were happy to prove that other weapons were acceptable for the first phase, and that Fire Tempest was also a viable option for Super Smo, so long as he tripped on 3 of the pillars. And with that, the second brick wall of the run has been mathematically dismantled. Truly, heroes of another caliber. Sort of. Speaking of heroes of another caliber, Andy's back. And unlike the other runners, he's opting to skip all of the waiting around and just throwing a great fireball instead. Very inspired. Can't wait to see what he does next. At this point in the run, the entire game is your oyster. There are 4 lords to chase after, and a good number of mid to late game equipment that might be able to push one's build even further. So, with that in mind, let's zoom in on each player and see if we can't determine their strategies. Starting with B-And. B-And appears to be focusing on Seath as his first target. He eliminates the golden golems around the archives with ease, gives Sieglind a great chaos fireball in response to being asked about the location of her father, then takes a quick detour to finish off Siegmeyer as well, removing the onions and their quest line from his list. And with nearly all the targets in the archives and crystal caves taken care of, it's time to see how the First Lord's soul holds up against the members of the bonfire. Because Seath is stunned for a few seconds when you break his immortality crystal, this is probably the easiest hyper mode cast storm to line up in the entire game. And despite it being a little closer than B-And would probably like, there it is. 1 Lord Soul collected, with nearly 7,000 damage dealt in a single hit. Doomwolf follows suit, also choosing Seath as his first target, though he seems unwilling to take off his dragon suit. He's forfeiting a large chunk of damage, since he isn't able to wear any of the damage boosting headgear in the game, but even without, he's still able to cross Seath off his list of names. Mr. Metagross also determined that the Scaleless Dragon was an easy target, killing Seath in much the same manner. but J.K. Leeds decided to clear a few more of the side bosses before picking a target. Using nothing more than a power within Chaos Storm, Leeds melted Gwendolyn to nothing before they could completely teleport away, and then, using Gwendolyn's helmet for a boost in damage, burnt the stray demon to a crisp as well. I'm not quite sure why he decided Havel's armor was the right choice from here on out, but after some fancy footwork, he was able to melt down the goodest doggo, gave Pinwheel no mercy and did more than double his health bar's worth of damage with a Fire Tempest, then finally abandoned his Havel cosplay and finished his killing spree with Seath. But here's where the paths start to really diverge. Press Continue decided to forego the Lord Souls entirely and focused instead on all of the smaller targets available at this point in the run. Needless to say, most, if not all of the targets in the game have less health than Super Smo. And with as much power as he has at his disposal, the age-old strategy of blasting every target with fire pillars isn't even necessary, as Press proved by killing Gwendolyn with a Great Chaos Fireball. So, between overpowered pyromancy and his big magical stick, Press continued to rapidly build up points, careful to comb through every area for any and all targets. He even discovered something new that I was completely unaware of. Normally, to complete Logan's questline, you have to buy all of his spells and then kill Seath to move him to his final location. However, turns out, buying all of his spells is actually enough, and killing him after that point will net you the Tin Catalyzation Catalyst early. Can someone please edit the wiki? The people need to know. Press also discovered that the Fire Pillar Pyromancies are a fickle mistress, and can, in fact, completely miss a target that's standing still. But don't worry, I'm sure this information won't be relevant later. That's foreshadowing, by the way. With the Tin Crystallization Catalyst in hand and boatloads of powerful spells at his disposal, Press melted down the Hydra with a single Crystal Soul Spear, happily obliged Dust's request to save her from evil, cleaned up some of the early game bosses that he missed along the way, and then finally killed Seath with a well-placed Fire Tempest. But now for something completely different. Rather than follow the crowd and head after Seath, GamersWeekend turned to the dark and dove headfirst into the catacombs. Killing the Titanite Demon and Black Knight was a simple enough task for his build, as was putting Rhea and her party to rest. Patches got his just desserts, and Paladin Leroy was punished for his lack of faith. And so, with the Catacombs and Tomb of Giants cleared, he began the struggle of killing Nito, Lord of the Dead. Rather than kill the skeletons plaguing the arena, GamersWeekend opted to disrespect the Lord of Death and use them against him, letting the skeletons whittle down his health into hyper mode range. And I think we all know what happened after that. That's 2 Lord Souls proven beatable in a single hit. 2 more to go. And for that, we turn to Meaty Jesus, who decided to push forward into Lost Izalith for his first Lord Soul. Contrary to its namesake, the demon Fire Sage doesn't have fire resistance, which means it's not long for this world, and with the Daughter of Chaos accidentally snapping her neck while trying to show off how well she can do a somersault, and Kirk proving that he's literally the worst invader 3 times in a row, it's time for everyone's favorite Lord Soul, the Bed of Chaos. Rushing in with a giant shield, MJ smashes the first root, rolls into the second, then does what any sensible person would do if they saw a bug that size, and smashes the Bed of Chaos flat. 3 Lord Souls defeated. Only 1 more to put to the test. A test that every runner put off until the very end of their run. That's foreshadowing, by the way! Interestingly, Baron's Castle decided on a completely different route than everyone else. Rather than tackle a Lord's Soul, Baron opted to kill the Hydra, collect the broken pendant from the Golem in the archives, and rush headfirst into the DLC, taking on the Sanctuary Guardian. Choosing to focus on defense over damage, Baron used the extra iframes that the Ninja Flip Ring offers to get the upper hand on the Guardian, then created a lava pool minefield that somehow, someway, triggered enough damage to kill the boss. Then, with a confidence that was both bold and brash, Baron takes a knee, just barely ducking under Artorias' opening attack and putting him in the perfect position for a Chaos Storm. The Knight of the Abyss, defeated in less than 5 seconds. Devastating. Artorias' girlfriend takes a great Chaos Fireball to the back, which was a bit dishonorable, but we're not here for honor, we're here for points. And after smashing through Seath in the traditional manner, Baron finished Logan's questline to collect both his point and his catalyst, then showed off the real reason he went into the DLC, the Dark Bead, the strongest magic spell in the game. Essentially a magic shotgun, this spell not only hits enemies several times in a row, but scales with the player's intelligence, strength, and dexterity, which makes it amazing if you have the right catalyst and high stats, but not so great if your catalyst and stat game are lacking. Which means that while it sounds like an easy button for this kind of challenge, that's only true if the participant planned ahead and has been using their limited levels accordingly. Only time will tell. But after smashing down all of Nito's skeletons with a holy club and giving Nito a taste of the storm, Baron pulls ahead of the pack. Not to be outdone, B-And also begins tying off loose ends, eliminating several bosses from the first half of the game. I'm not exactly sure why his strategy seems to be kill them while they kill me, but you can't deny that it gets results. Results that he carries with him into the DLC, killing the Sanctuary Guardian from beyond the grave. Victory achieved, no matter the cost. Artorias once again misses his lunge attack while Bian picks up a lucky penny from the ground, and gets danced to death as a result. Back to the future, Doomwolf has picked up Crystal Magic Weapon and overexcitedly shows it to Pinwheel. Then somehow, despite still not wearing proper headgear, kills Gwendolyn with a single fire pillar. That's kinda terrifying actually. And after pillaring down the gaping dragon as well, Doom finally realizes the damage potential he's been missing and begins pushing his way into the DLC as well. The Sanctuary Guardian collects its sacrificial toll before giving access to Ulasil, and Doomwolf shows us that it's not just Artorias' lunge that can be ducked under. Eat your heart out, Sekiro. Dark Souls 1 started it all. Unlike his fellows, Gamers Weekend has decided to eliminate more Lord Souls rather than pushing into the DLC, getting a fancy double kill at the beginning of the archives before brute forcing his way through the remaining targets in the area. And despite setting off his Chaos Storm a little too early and losing one of his pillars to Seath's immunity, the rest of the attack is enough to push through Seath's health bar and net him another Lord Soul. JK Leeds also appears to be taking on the Lord Souls first, collecting himself a Lord Soul that is quite neato if I do say so myself, while Meaty Jesus has the same idea, just barely taking out Seath due to some unlucky Chaos Storm RNG. Looks like Meaty's uncanny luck is starting to wear thin. Mr. Metagross also seems to be avoiding the DLC for now. He gives Gwendolyn a few flame pillars to the face, followed by trying to teach Sif how to play dead.
From you, alright? She learned it from watching you!
Meta's new Gwendolyn headgear helps him take out the stray demon with relative ease, and to show his thanks, Meta goes on back to Domhnall to pay him his finder's fee. He then kills Guinevere to trigger Dark Anne Orlando and... Carl, cut the camera. Cut the camera, and goes about clearing the rest of Anne Orlando, even going so far as to kill off the giant blacksmith. Nighty-night. And with some divine clubbing to the local skeletons, Nito once again tastes flame. A fine run of points right there. Over on Press Continue's run, the Sanctuary Guardian once again takes the sacrifice tax, and Press notices what a few other runners did not. If you kill Dusk in the base game, it kills Elizabeth the Mushroom automatically. The more you know. But don't worry, when anyone killed Dusk, I made sure to give them their Elizabeth point at the same time. The numbers are all accurate, and with Artorias dead, Press begins his foray into the DLC proper as well. Oh hey, Andy's alive again. Much like his butterfly kill, it looks like Andy has recognized the power of the Great Fireball, and easily kills his way through the 3 great cats in the forest. And after dishing out the same punishment to Sif, it looks like Andy is primed and ready to catch up to everyone else. Hey Andy, come here for a sec. No, come here. Why did you send me hours of footage of you just standing there? Plateau Peak, anything new with you? Alright then, back to the action. Mr. Metagross pushes into the DLC, actually managing to reject the Sanctuary Guardian sacrifice tax, before slapping Artorias down with a Fire Tempest. Meanwhile, Meaty Jesus decided to relax for a bit and played golf with the Firelink NPCs before doing something we haven't seen yet. He kills the Sanctuary Guardian with a Crystal Great Club, rather than resorting to Flame Pillar RNG. Artorias does his best to avoid getting juked again, but unfortunately for him, he just doesn't know how to point downward, giving Meaty Jesus a first try kill. You'd think RNGesus would make his favoritism a little less obvious. Gamers Weekend also avoids the sacrifice tax, killing the Sanctuary Guardian with relative ease, and embarrasses Artorias much the same as everyone else. Artorias is having a really bad day. On the other side of the coin, JK Leeds starts to have a very good day, demolishing targets left and right with surprising speed. The Firelink NPCs receive 0 shelter from the storm, and the Chaos Servants also get squished like the bugs they are. The few bosses that have avoided burninating up to this point suddenly fall under JK's gaze, and the few NPCs who dared to resist learn very quickly what resisting gets you. Double kill, by the way. Very nice. JK also utilized the one lesson that every Dark Souls player should learn, and learn quickly. The best way to fight is to fight in an arena of your choosing. And with the Sanctuary Guardian soundly defeated, Artorias is once again humiliated, bringing JK Leeds back in line with the frontrunners. Speaking of frontrunners, Press Continue is pressing on. A single Crystal Soul Spear to the face is enough to take out Siren, along with any other targets hiding in the DLC, like the Ulasil mimics. Even Goff, after helping ground Calamite, goes down with a single magical shotgun blast. And with some excellent positioning after Calamite locks itself in place after a long animation, the Black Dragon itself is killed as well. Chester, who comes in both cherry and vanilla flavors, is relatively simple to dispatch once you know where he spawns in, and despite doing massive damage when on the aggressive, isn't much to look at when you can kill him before he can even attack. A quick trip back to the base game proves that Dark Bead is extremely overpowered in the right hands, melting through bosses even faster than Chaos Storm and Fire Tempest do. The difference between the two is actually staggering. Whereas most of the footage with the Fire Pillar spells was just failed attempts while waiting for RNG to kick in, all of the Dark Bead footage I have is 1 attempt, 1 kill. Dark Bead, my hard drive thanks you. And with the bed of Chaos smushed, and the rest of the Chaos Servants removed from Lordran, Press pushed forward into the Tomb of Giants, quickly killing all of his targets along the way. Even Nito, who gave so many runners a hard time, goes down with a single click of a button. Incredible. I think it's safe to say why so many PvP gankers chose this spell as their gimmick of choice. If the enemy stands still for more than 2 seconds, it's already over. The rampage continues, with Press realizing that the shockwaves from his Dragon King Great Axe can reach Rickard the blacksmith, followed by the realization that the shockwaves aren't quite strong enough to double kill Shiva and his bodyguard. Darkbead though. Darkbead works fine. And after bullying Shiva's bodyguard for even considering surviving, it's starting to look like Press's build is built for victory. With 122 points in his pocket, Press Continue is primed to complete the run. B-And, who has yet to grow tired of dancing, follows in Press's footsteps. He takes out Calamite with a well-placed Fire Tempest, deletes the Ceaseless Discharge with a Shotgun Blast, quickly and efficiently pushes through the Lost Izalith Gauntlet, with very little fanfare or struggle I might add, and dances his way right into the Bed of Chaos. Keeping things fun for himself, B-And decided to use the Firebomb method to defeat the Bed of Chaos's limbs, where you aim a bow to get a proper angle, and then let the bombs do all of the work. As for the Bed of Chaos, a simple punch to the face. Pinwheel gets bullied even harder than previously seen, Nito gets outplayed by a naked man with a shiny staff, and Dark Sun Gwendolyn becomes Darkbead Gwendolyn in less than 1 cycle. And after a bit of new boot goofing to clear up the rest of the targets that he missed along the way, it's not long before B-And has almost all the points he needs for a perfect game. Yes sir, nothing can stop the dancing man in a diaper now. And if B-And is able to catch up to Press Continue, Press's previous errors might give B-And a chance to win this. Moving back to Baron's castle, he pushes forward into the DLC, taking out Chester with ease before giving Calamite the business as well. Baron also took a little siesta in the base game, killing off some soul masses, Titanite demons of all shapes and sizes, and all of the Black Knights that he missed in his previous run-throughs. Putting his Covenant levels to use, he even killed the Centipede demon with a lovely combo of Dark Moon Blade and the Dragon King Great Axe's Shockwave, killing the beastie in midair for extra clout. Even the gods themselves are no match for his build. And unless I'm mistaken, Baron only has a few more easy targets to go, meaning he's primed for victory if he can just manage to keep it together. Oh look, Andy's back again. After literal hours of staring at the fog wall, he finally kills the Gaping Dragon, kills the Wall Parasite with a great fireball, as you do, and... Okay, that's it. Carl, get Andy on the phone. No, I don't care that you're taking a lunch break, call him. Thank you. Hey, Andy, it's Lemon. Yeah, hey, just wanted to ask you, the fuck is going on over there? There's like hours of footage where you just... Oh, you... Is that right? This whole time? I see. Okay, well, thanks for clearing that up, as you were. Okay, we're just gonna let Andy cook for a bit. I'll explain later. Anyway, moving on to Doomwolf. Doom looks like his build is complete as well, judging by the damage. With Darkbead and Fire Pillars in hand, the Moonlight Butterfly stands 0 chance of survival. And the same goes for Nito, Ceaseless, the Fire Sage, the Centipede, the list goes on. You know, it's interesting. Most of the runs are only halfway or 2/3 done, and yet they've all slowly homogenized into the same build. There's a few differences between them all, like Doomwolf allowing the Onion family to reach their natural questline conclusion, but for the most part, everyone has landed on the same choices. Strange, really. It's a far cry from the beginning, where everyone picked weapons and equipment that suited their playstyle best. Now though, it's just about the damage. Nothing more, nothing less. Picking anything that doesn't fit the meta, outside of a few rare instances, is contest suicide. And to be honest, I can't blame them. After all, when given the option between spending hours upon hours grinding for souls and materials to make a weapon that might get the damage you need, and picking a spell that you can quickly grab that you know for a fact will one-shot everything, the choice is obvious. Which brings us to GamersWeekend. The man has been very reluctant to let go of that great axe of his. Any chance he gets, he's smashing targets with it, regardless of how much easier it would be for him just to throw a fireball at his enemies. Say what you will, the man knows how to put on a show. I mean, look at this. He put on his brand armor and everything just to meme kill the Bed of Chaos. You gotta love it. And though he's a bit behind in points, he's definitely ahead in style. And as someone who had to watch hundreds and hundreds of hours of Dark Souls footage, I appreciate that a lot. Back to JK Leeds, he's in hot pursuit of everyone else, using the Darkbead method when appropriate, and casting Bonk when it suits him. At least, I assume that's what happened there. A bit hard to tell. Unfortunately, Mr. Leeds got a little too carried away with his overpowered build, and missed a few targets along the way. For example, he was able to kill the Demon Fire Sage without issue, but doing so forfeited the Kirk encounter, which he forgot to do. He also goofed up several NPC questlines, losing track of a few of them, and forgetting to return at a later time. Not that I blame the man. 130 moving targets is not an easy feat, and considering I put a time limit on the contest on top of it all, it's amazing any of the participants still have their sanity. But after doing a few last sweeps around the map, JK begins to catch up to the rest, passing the triple-digit mark and priming him for the next phase. Oh yes, that's right. There's a third phase of this competition. Getting past Quelaag was the first step, and getting past Ornstein and Smo was the second. But anything worth doing abides by the rule of threes, and with us finally entering what I would consider the late game, it's almost time. What worries me is that the runners are starting to show signs of cracking. Even Meaty Jesus, who's been lucky this entire run, seems a bit tense.
Wait, I win. Tell me I win. Tell me I win. Say I win. Say I win.
Even the easy fights seem to have him on edge. It's okay though. I'm sure they're all still having fun. Right, MJ? Ah, crap. I think I broke all the runners. But with Mr. Metagross finishing off the last few bosses on his end as well, he too is primed and ready for the final phase, which means there's only 2 players lagging behind. Wait a minute. Why do I hear Super Smash Bros. Music?
Woo! Yeah, baby!
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The man, the myth, the legend is back, and he's ready to kill Quelaag. Good lord, does he have some catching up to do. Wait a minute, is that a reinforced club? Oh my god! That man just straight up killed Quelaag with a motherfucking reinforced club. Good lord, Carl, did you know the club was this viable? I've always ignored it up to now. And he's murdered the gargoyles with a reinforced club as well. I'll admit, I'm thoroughly confused, and my phone call with Andy earlier makes this even more terrifying. So you know how he's been AFK for most of the run? Turns out, Andy hasn't been at his computer. But not like you're thinking. He hasn't been at his computer this entire time. The footage you're seeing right now, all done remotely. Before the competition started, Andy had to leave his home state for the entire duration of the contest, which means that he's not only been one-shotting every enemy, he's been one-shotting them with 15 frames per second and 300 ping lag. Thankfully, he was forward-thinking enough to set up his computer in such a way that he could remotely record his footage, because if he hadn't, his footage would have looked less like this and more like this. God, I don't even want to know what Blighttown looked like. Clearly, we're dealing with a madman. Look, he even killed Priscilla. Killing her in one hit can potentially break your save file, that's why she's not worth any points. What are you doing? In any case, Andy catches up to the rest of the gang with a ferocity I have never seen, racing through bosses, mini-bosses, invaders, and everything in between. And somehow, some way, it's happened. Everyone has reached phase 3. Well, almost everybody. But to be fair, Plateau Peak might be the lucky one here. Because the night is dark and full of terrors. And if you stare into that inky abyss long enough, it just might stare back.
Oh, please! Please!
Ladies and gentlemen, the third phase, Manus. This beast is not only super aggressive, but he also refuses to stand still. On top of that, his health pool is insane. All of the runners did the math, and there's only one thing that can finish him off. A well-placed Fire Tempest. A spell that is as fickle as it is overpowered. But here's the thing. They didn't just need an RNG-heavy Fire Tempest. They also needed Manus to jump. Because even if you get all 3 pillars to hit, if Manus doesn't jump, you won't get the extra off-balance damage you need to kill him. Instead, you'd get the number that haunts my runner's dreams to this day. 6,033. This was the moment that broke them. This wasn't about skill. This was about luck. Pure, dumb luck. One by one, despair began to kick in. The runners commiserated at the bonfire, their hatred of Manus growing and a feeling of impossibility slowly creeping in. Attempts against Manus very quickly shifted from the 10s to the 100s, not measured in minutes or hours, but in days. And then, the breaking point. GamersWeekend, beaten down by Manus over the course of 311 attempts for approximately 10 hours of game time, decided to stop attempting the boss to shift his focus towards the rest of the run. Manus was an optional boss in terms of game progression after all, so skipping him would simply mean a maximum possible score of 128 rather than 130. And to be completely honest, I 100% agree with his decision. Were I participating in my own challenge, I don't think I could have withstood 150 attempts against Manus, let alone 311. And if there's one thing that Dark Souls does its best to teach you, it's knowing when to let go. Because when it comes down to it, the Manus fight is a lottery, not a challenge. You either get the jump and the perfect Fire Tempest pillar locations, or you don't. When I created the run, I only knew that defeating Manus was possible, but I didn't know about the Herculean effort it would take to get that victory. All of my research simply showed that Manus could be defeated. The mountains of failed attempts and wasted footage that littered the editing room floor were never shown. A familiar feeling for all of us in the challenge run business, I'm sure. And so, Mr. Weekend, you have my full and unbridled respect, as well as my heartfelt apology. That bastard of a boss may not have given you a victory screen, but you definitely deserved one. Which is why what happened next was all the more memorable.
Oh, he's going in for the kill.
Oh my god, finally, you fuzzy-handed freak.
Guess my aim is meanest.
Insane, it actually happened.
Drink.
Literally not even close.
Holy fuck.
It happened. It actually happened. Meaty Jesus had done it, and soon after that, the dam broke. Runner after runner claimed victory against the Father of the Abyss. Runner after runner took their 2 points and never looked back at the Abyss again. Some, unfortunately, were cursed by the game and traded blows with Manus in their successful attempt. A trade that gives them their point for Manus, but prohibits them from killing the hostage version of Dusk, who disappears if you leave the arena after Manus is defeated. And others, flabbergasted at the fact that they had actually beaten Manus, forgot to heal, giving Dark Souls the last laugh. Needless to say, the disappointment these runners felt was immense, but was vastly outweighed by their relief that they would never have to fight Manus again.
Oh my god! Oh, oh my god! I can't believe it.
Congratulations, all of you. No matter what the point totals come out to be in the end, the fact that all 10 of you came together to revel in the united victory against a shared enemy makes me so goddamn proud. Truly, every single one of you is gloriously incandescent. But with that said, we've got a contest to finish. Time for the final push. The beginning of the end starts with Baron's Castle. Giving the Hellkite Drake the business with a fully loaded Sunlight Blade Great Axe attack, he cleanses the map of the last few targets he can reach, killing Goff, Ingi and the Fair Lady, the female undead merchant, Andre, our beloved, Oswald, our detested, and the Hydra of Ash Lake, bringing his final total to 125. B-And, already nearly finished with his run after defeating Manus, wrapped things up by killing Andre, giving him a final score of 128. Doomwolf made sure to show his displeasure towards Dusk, killing her and Elizabeth in the process, before moving on to kill the Chaos Servants, and eventually Andre as well. After that, he took his points and retired to the Painted World, where it's said he lives with his waifu to this day. Doomwolf ended his run with 127 points. J.K. Leeds, having also done pretty much everything he could do before killing Manus, cleared the golden golems in the crystal caves before calling it a day with 112 points. And Press Continue, also being at the end of his run before attempting Manus, killed his final target, the giant blacksmith, ending his run with 125 points. Now, at this point, you're probably asking yourself, how did these guys miss those points at the end? Well, it's simple, really. Aside from a few simple mistakes that led to missed NPCs or deaths that took more than one shot, the most common cause of a point loss was Phase 4. Oh, did I forget to mention Phase 4? Yeah, no, we're not doing that again. Suffice it to say, after a few attempts at the Four Kings, most of the runners decided they didn't want another mana situation and took the loss. Because here's the situation. Not only do the Four Kings have 9,504 HP, which for you math nerds out there is a whopping 2,849 more than fucking Manus, but the Abyss requires you to use one of your ring slots for the Covenant of Artorias ring. Combine this with the fact that the Abyss seems to be doing something weird and fucky to how the Fire Pillar spells spawn in, and you've got a bad time. Since figuring out a way to get more damage was obviously the first problem that needed solving, the runners very quickly figured out that more kings on the field means more possible damage. The only problem was that with more kings on the field, staying safely in hyper mode was simply out of the question. Try dodging 4 individual attacks as a glass cannon. It can't be done. But some men just want to watch the world burn. And after some insane number crunching and the development of a new technique, Meaty Jesus was the first to stumble upon the solution. With the Fire Surge Pyromancy in hand and very particular timing and positioning, it is actually possible to burst down one king, continue to damage his health bar as he despawns, then quickly swap over to the second king who is just spawning in, applying the remaining damage to him and finishing the fight. He wasn't the only one to figure this out either. Turns out that Gamers Weekend took all that energy he saved by skipping out on Manus and applied it to the 4 kings. By using his Bloodstain to mark the second king's spawn location, he was able to consistently set up the Fire Surge strategy. And just like that, not 1, not 2, but 3 runners were able to kill the 4 kings with a single button press. The final runner being Challenger Andy. Because of course it was. Not only did the amount of people on planet Earth who have ever killed the 4 kings in a single hit jump from 0 to 3 in a single month, but each runner came up with this strategy independently. I guess that great and desperate minds think alike. Also, because it's worth noting, and I want to make sure everyone understands the importance of this accomplishment, please keep in mind that up to this point, no one has ever killed the 4 kings in a single attack while playing normally, and these 3 did it while level locked. But enough being a proud papa. It's about time this video came to an end. Gamers Weekend, having reached inner peace and no longer concerned with points, decides to lose a point and resurrect Anastasia, puts the newfound power of Fire Surge to work, killing soul masses, gives his Great Axe a few farewell swings with all of the remaining NPCs, and tries out a few more pyromancies for good measure. Andre gives as good as he gets, making sure to give Gamers Weekend a bruise to remember him by, before ultimately dying to a flame whip. And Gamers Weekend finishes the run strong by parrying Gwyn's opening strike, then deleting his health bar with Fire Surge, ending the run with a total of 111 points. Meaty Jesus goes on a blacksmith spree, smashing Andre, pulverizing Vamos, melting down the giant blacksmith, and somehow wiggle worming his Black Knight halberd through the bars to kill Rickert. Oswald finally learns what it is, and a Black Knight that somehow avoided Jesus' wrath gets what he should have gotten a long time ago. And with that all done, Meaty enters Gwyn's arena, uses a crystal-infused, crystal magic weapon-buffed Demon Great Axe to riposte Gwyn into another universe, and officially ends his run with 130 points out of a total 130. A perfect score. He also got a little cheeky and went into New Game Plus to kill the Asylum Demon, but there's no extra credit in this class. As for Andy, he's up to something. You can just tell by looking at his face. And it's right here that I learned 2 things. First off, you can run past Ceaseless Discharge when he leaps at you, and with a little fancy footwork and some gravity tomfoolery, you can get up on top of his arm. And if you jump at just the right angle, well, would you look at that. A 0-button press Ceaseless kill. Well, what is it indeed? I think Andy was feeling pretty good at this point, judging by his gameplay. The guy is just goofing off, and I love it. Old Trusty and Rusty finishes off the bed of chaos, Gwendolyn melts to death with a single Great Chaos Fireball, Rickert is once again shown to be unsafe when confronted by the willpower of madmen, and Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, reaches his true potential and becomes Cinder himself, giving Challenger Andy 130 out of 130 points. Oh, and fun fact, he beat all but 3 of the targets in the run at Soul Level 1. That's right, not only did the man fight against 300 ping lag, but he was able to beat most of the challenge without using any of his points. According to a spreadsheet of information he sent me, he's pretty sure it's actually possible to get those last 3 points at Soul Level 1 as well, which, for those of you who are wondering, are the Hellkite Drake, the Centipede Demon, and the Ash Lake Hydra. He just ran out of time to test it properly. But if I know him, considering a glitchless one-shot Soul Level 1 run has yet to be completed, he'll find a way to do it and release a video that explains it better than I ever could. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have a tie. Never in all of my dreams did I imagine... Wait, what was that? Oh my god, he's done it. The madman actually got 30 Drake scales. Unfortunately, there's only a few hours left before the run is officially over. I'm not sure he's gonna be able to... I'm sorry, how much damage? Well, okay, but that was just an NPC. The mini-bosses have more health and defense, so it's not like he can just attack them with a normal attack and kill them. Or he can. So let me get this straight. Rather than focus on meta builds, Plateau Peak decided to literally become a meme and kill everything as a Dragon Covenant enjoyer? I'm not sure how to feel right now. I mean, you can't deny the body count, and the points are certainly rolling in, but we've seen what the boss health pools turn into. There's no way. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Is this real life? Carl, am I dead? Did I die while editing this? How's this possible? How are the Dragon Claws that strong? The man is just racing through content. Look, he's already at 20 points. Wait, now what's he doing? He's back in the Valley of Drakes? Why does he need more scales? Oh, right, the Dragon Greatsword. Wait, no one else used that thing. Is it bad? Oh boy, he's not even using the jump attack strategy against Quelaag. Poor guy doesn't even... Okay, what the actual fuck? I can't. I just can't. The man is killing some of the biggest enemies in the game with an unbuffed melee weapon. Apparently, we're all fools and slept on one of the strongest weapons in the game. I don't even know what to believe anymore. Oh good, he killed the Iron Golem with Pyromancy. Finally, some semblance of normalcy. And he just deleted Ornstein with the Shockwave. He didn't even use the blade damage. I don't know everybody, this could be it. This could be the upset of the century. Plateau Peak, who up until this point has done nothing but grind dragon scales, has come back from the dead and is racing through milestones like a bat out of hell. The lords are dead or dying, and everything we thought we knew about the Dragon Covenant and the strength it wields has been uprooted. The man has clearly been cooking this build to perfection. No wonder it's taken him the entire month to put it together. Wait, all month? Ah, damn it. Literally beaten out by the clock. What was his final score? Yeah, that sounds about right. Good effort, Plateau Peak. It might not have worked out in the end, but by God was it fun to watch. But with every participant having ended their attempts and the timer for the contest officially run out, the one-shot contest is over. Our contestants have put forth their best efforts and have done what the Dark Souls community at large thought impossible. Dark Souls history has been made, and no matter where each runner fell in the final rankings, I just want to thank each and every one of them for giving me a month of their time and effort. This achievement wouldn't be possible without you, and the community that we've created is one that I will cherish for my entire YouTube career. With that said, I present to you the final scores. Tied for first place, Challenger Andy and Meaty Jesus with 130 points. Tied for second place, Mr. Metagross and B&, with 128 points. In third place, Doomwolf with 127 points. Tied for fourth place, Baron's Castle and Press Continue with 125 points. In fifth place, JK Leeds with 112 points. In sixth place, GamersWeekend with 111 points. And in seventh place, Plateau Peak with 69 points. Nice. Amazing work, gentlemen. You should all be very proud. If you want to see a more in-depth analysis of each runner's build and pathing, I highly suggest visiting each of their channels, linked in the description below. Some of them have released a video detailing their runs, and they're an absolute blast to watch. And even if they haven't made a video about the one-shot challenge, the stuff they do upload is high quality, and well worth your time. This contest was a hell of a project, an entire year of editing, reviewing, re-editing, writing, and rewriting. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't glad it was finally over. But I'd also be lying if I said I didn't want to do it again. So if you'll excuse me, I think I have some planning to do. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.